do have one addition. Melanie, Gerhard, Jim, landfill fees discussion. Is there any other additions or deletions?
None that I know of.
Board, you're good?
Yep, I'm good.
All right, so Caitlin is here. I'm going to go right into our agenda, then we'll come back to the Gerhard Grill. But I know Caitlin's very busy up there, so Caitlin, come on up.
Sure.
And this is the VOCA grant update. She's our grant expert, so.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Take it away, Caitlin. Yes, you are. I know you are.
So for the record, my name is Caitlin Roberts. I'm the office assistant within the district attorney's office. I come before you today with an informational item at this point. It's not requiring action at this time from you, but I wanted to come before you now. There are two commissioners that haven't had the privilege of hearing my spiel about this grant, so I thought I'd give you a little insight about this grant that we have. So this is the VOCA CFA non-competitive grant. VOCA stands for Victims of Crime Act, and CFA stands for the Criminal Fines Account. So VOCA is federal funds and CFA is state funds. Within this grant, we serve the victims of crime that have occurred in Lake County. You'll see as we get to the budget that our allocation has increased by about 130%, which has allowed us to get a full-time victim advocate within the DA's office, which is spectacular. So the grant supports essentially a full-time position, that's Sri Davis that was recently hired, and then also a little bit of mine and Marla's salary to support victim services. Within the grant, there's also funds to support training opportunities for staff, along with some of the victim expenses that we're allowed to pay in order to assist them in participating in the criminal proceedings here in Lakeview, and then also office supplies that we have to supporting the program. So within the VOCA is federal funding, so we have to provide a 25% match, which in previous bienniums we have gotten away with that by using the CFA dollars as match, and that has met that 25%. This year obviously is a little bit different because we have about approximately $50,000 worth of match we would have to come up with in order to meet that requirement if we budget for the whole allocation that we've been allocated for this biennium. So with much help from Ann, we have worked on at least a preliminary budget, and I apologize, what I submitted to Melanie, and I think what you have before you, doesn't have a big draft stamp across it because the application is due on the 30th, and we're actually in initial conversations with the Wellness Center about how to possibly budget additional money to provide like counseling and therapy services for victims, which is a huge need. So those are in preliminary conversations, but that's a way for us to possibly budget more of that unbudgeted pot of money you see in the tables I provided. So that's a lot of talking. I'll pause right there to see if there's something critical that I missed, if you have questions.
How are you breaking up the actual 25% match required? I'm seeing this, you have volunteer hours and you have it down to 1,201. Can you explain that a little bit?
Sure. So I think he's looking at this page. At the bottom of it, there's the box where I have put match 25% of VOCA. So obviously our CFA dollars, which you see there, can be used as match. Volunteer hours, so as a requirement of VOCA, we have to actively work to have volunteers to support the victim services program. So we do have one individual that's interested in providing volunteer services. And so what we can do is account based on an hourly rate. For every hour that volunteer spends, we can use that as match for the purpose of meeting that requirement. And then along with the volunteer hours, what we have as cash and in-kind at this point is a small portion of Cherie's salary to use as match, because we know that every quarter we're gonna pay her and pay her personnel expenses. So we know if we don't get those volunteer hours, within the quarter, we'll still be able to meet that match by using a little bit of her salary and personnel expenses as in-kind. So that would be coming out of our general fund office budget. So, did that answer your question?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you very much.
Mhm.
Other questions?
No.
So as far as the timeline, just, the application is due at the end of this month, so I will be before you likely next month or in October, with the actual grant agreement. The process is we'll put in the application. September gives the state the opportunity to review our applications, ask for any modifications or changes that are needed, and then they'll send us the grant agreement for you to sign. I will be coming down to you, Mr. Winters, as the chair. There's one kind of assurance page that you'll have to sign off on in order to submit the application. But I'll be before you again here in the next month or two to solidify this grant.
So, back to your match, and I'm just thinking, a little bit of everybody's time can go towards the match correctly, that the general fund pays. Or am I wrong on that? But you should, because you guys cross over and do quite a bit of work. So is that considered part of the match, or can it be part of the match?
It can be. So right now, with coming out of, if you look at the overview, the budget page, of the salary and personnel expenses, all of Cherie's time is, so I guess 50% is VOCA, 45% is CFA, and then that 5% is part of the match. So out of this grant, 20% of my salary will be paid out of this grant because we're such a small office. I provide victim services regularly when people come to the window or make phone calls, or when Cherie's out, such as this week. Marla and I both step in. And then obviously a small portion of Marla's salary can be used because she supervises all of us. And she also, again, provides victim services when either I or Cherie are out. So yes, it is possible to use, and Ann and I talked about that a little bit, and I think we landed on using a little bit of Cherie's because we knew that we would be paying her for sure her full amount each quarter. Mine and Marla's percentages could possibly change depending on our workload. When Cherie's kind of full up and running, it might be possibly less of my time coming out of the grant. So it was kind of a strategic decision as far as using her salary or personnel expenses as match. That we can talk about. I mean,
You guys will have it covered. I just know where my mind goes thinking of, you're exactly right, small department, everybody has to do a little bit of everything. So
Yep.
if it qualifies for the match, then it qualifies. Thank you, I really appreciate the update, and thank you very much.
Okay. Any other questions?
No, that should be, thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
All right, who's the lead on Gerhardt landfill fee discussion? Would you, is now the time you wanted to do that?
Donna Ness called me, and are you guys, why don't you guys come up and have a seat and introduce yourself? Donna Ness called me on the phone, and these guys will kind of explain.
Thank you, Jake.
I'm the president of the Life Community Action Team. Clint Nichols is the CEO on the project, so who I'm going to be speaking.
Okay.
So,
So why don't you start from the beginning, how Klamath County donated you guys the property, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, so yeah, whenever I was 16, the Klamath County School District sold us the old school gym. It's known as the Gerhardt Gym. They sold it to the Black Community Action Team for $1. And way back in the beginning, since I was 16, I've led major restoration projects. You know, from the roof, installing new lights, maintaining the floor and memberships, just multiple projects. And it's a huge benefit to the community. Kids are up there all the time playing basketball. It's the community center where everyone meets up for large events, Halloween parties, Christmas programs. We have movie nights every once in a while. So it's a huge asset to the community. And anyway, so with everything, we have insurance that is $6,500 a year, and it's a huge task to raise money for the insurance, along with all the projects that we're trying to do. And currently, we're working on the roof project, which is a huge. It's a 10,000 square foot building, and yeah, it just anyway, like I said, it's a huge task to raise all that money.
So Kevin from Lakeview Sanitation
Yep,
donated all the dumpsters and hauling it to the landfill.
Yep, so we talked to Waste Management last winter whenever we started we finished the back section of the roof, and at that time we had sent an application to Waste Management, and as far as we knew, they had received it, and we went back there at the beginning of the summer, and they told us that they had not received the application. That was an online thing that's separate from what they do, so that was kind of like we were out of luck as far as receiving a dumpster from Waste Management, and we knew it was going to be a big expense. So we had talked to, Donna had talked to Lakeview Sanitation, and he had donated the dumpsters. We received 3 dumpsters. He donated them, hauling them, all the expense on his part, and we agreed to pay the dump fee, which is $70 a ton, somewhere around there. So we received the bill, which was $1,414 from Kevin, and we come to you asking hoping that you could provide some relief on that fee.
We only have $3,000 in our account, so it would be a huge help if you could relieve some of that amount.
Yeah, definitely. The roof project still, being a little over 50% done, and we're constantly running into more problems and different things with that.
So one of my questions is that, since it's Klamath County,
Yeah.
it makes it kind of hard for us to justify,
We know that.
and so that's kind of our dilemma.
Mm-hmm.
But I also realize that a lot of people that live in Bly work in Lake County. A lot of Lake County groups go play ball in that gym, or we met for the Forest Service over there too. So it's just a matter of us discussing we believe you're doing good work. And so that's why I wanted you to bring it to the other commissioners so they can hear and we can discuss what we think we need to do.
So you're set up as a nonprofit is what you're set up as, and
Yes, we are.
it's a community action team that way.
Mm-hmm.
And so have you approached the Klamath County Commissioners to pay for part of it or anything?
No, we haven't.
Yeah, not,
Since it was Kevin who provided the service, and,
yeah.
because Waste Management basically ignored us.
Okay. I'm just thinking on landfill, I brought it to Lake County because Kevin, there's a transfer site in Beatty, which is in Klamath County. Just putting together the reason why it came to Lake County instead of Klamath County is because Kevin donated his trucks in time, so he decided to bring it to Lakeview instead of just over to the transfer site at Beatty, which is much closer. That was Kevin's decision, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, and so well, I guess your bank account's pretty low, but you probably had budgeted something for this project. So you're asking for any kind of relief you can get. Okay. But, we won't make a decision today. We ask questions today. Tomorrow we'll make a decision. Mark obviously has contact to wherever, and something for us to take into consideration.
Okay. Well, we appreciate your time, and any relief you can give us would help.
Well, it seems like if we was to do something, we could challenge Klamath County Commissioners to match it.
That's kind of where I was thinking.
I have a pretty good relationship with a couple of them, or all three of them actually, so we might just challenge them to, if we're going to help out their county, they might ought to match whatever we do,
That's right.
if we decided to do something.
That'd
We
be
are
wonderful.
politicians, you
You can
know.
try to shame them.
What, yeah, pretty much. I think what you guys are doing is awesome, and all the work that's put into that is really.
Well, the gym is
it's a lot of work.
available for rent if you should happen to need it. We do have memberships and we rent it. We've used it already for funerals, weddings, I mean, multiple uses. So,
That's really awesome.
You just opened up, you never do know, by us doing something, we might prepaid for use for the next few years if we ever need it. Melanie, you
I
got a
was
question?
just going to add, I'm friends with Quentin's mom, and they've been busting their funds for years,
Mm-hmm.
raising these funds. They haven't asked for any handouts, they've been making all the money themselves and doing all kinds of raffles, and I think it's great what they're doing.
we did apply for grants and usually we're turned down because they want a 20% match and we don't have it.
Yep.
You know, we're just barely hanging on. Roofing itself cost $8,400.
Yeah, and that's where,
Yeah.
with the roof project, our bid at one point was 74,000, and then we got it down to 34,000 with just, cheap rural roofing material. So as far as the roofing project, you just kind of, step by step, and
It's a big project.
we took it on, tore the roof off, and then just making our way.
Just keep talking, we're gonna hit those Klamath County Commissioners hard.
Definitely,
Yeah,
Yeah.
And you can tell them Brad said so, that's fine. And I bet you these two will chime right in.
Oh, yeah. I need 'em. Awesome.
well, we appreciate your time.
Thank you so much. Great over.
Sure.
All right, next up, we have Jake, amendment number 1 to IGA number 11078. This is the one that needs ratification, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And so we normally, we carry this on tomorrow. So where this is,
Morning, gentlemen.
Good morning, Jake.
where this is ratification, we might go ahead and just get this one off the table today.
Okay,
My
this is
regular-
ratification, and what it is historically, under that, this pot of money we're talking about used to go through the Oregon Education Department to Commission Children and Families, and then to the providers here in the community. A few years back, CCNF, Commission Children and Family, sunsetted, that whole outfit went away. The state arbitrarily just made a decision that it's gonna funnel through juvenile departments within the state. So we took that, took that burden on. So it's just money in, money out. Excuse me, but there's a lot of work that goes into it, more than I thought would be going into it. Anyway, they received more money at the Youth Development Council, which falls under the Oregon Education Department. So historically, our grant has always been $45,000 for a 2-year biennium. We retain 10% of that for administrative costs, and then the youth mentoring program cut the rest of that over 2 years. This year it's $60,000, so they raised that minimum up $15,000 biennium. So we'll still retain 10%, and then the remaining $27,000 in fiscal year goes to youth mentoring. And what they do for the work is they do juvenile crime prevention assessments, similar assessments that we do downstairs in the juvenile department. It's a risk needs assessment. And then they, once those are conducted, they work with the mentors. Each of the mentees are assigned a mentor. The mentors will address those high-risk areas, helping addressing those high-risk areas.
So are we talking the youth mentor downstairs or the youth mentor, Lake County youth mentor?
Youth mentor, Lake County youth mentor.
Okay.
Yeah, our youth, our position downstairs isn't really JCP's.
I just didn't know they did a risk management. I didn't know they did a risk analysis on those.
Yeah, it's a short form of the JCP, but they do the JCP. And they address the risks. It will show the risk and needs, and then they address it. So all it is it's money in, money out. They provide me the data every quarter, and I enter all the data, send it off, we get the money, and we do an AP kind of a check. So it's just money in, money out, essentially. So there was a timeline on that, so I asked Commissioner Winters to go ahead and sign that. So just here today to ratify that one.
So I'll move to ratify amendment number 1 to intergovernmental agreement number 11078 as signed.
So moved.
Motion's been made and seconded, accept the ratification. Further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion carries. Thank you.
Okay.
Next item is 14285.
14285. This is the contract with Oregon Youth Authority for juvenile crime prevention basic services. There's a whole laundry list of things that we're able to do with these monies. What we've chosen to do back when I first started was to help offset our detention costs. Our detention costs have been increasing, so it's a small amount of money. We're talking $16,019 over a 2-year biennium, so $8,009.50 a fiscal year. So we get about $2,000 a quarter. And what that does is it just comes back to general fund and it helps offset our detention costs. So out of $16,000, we're reducing our detention costs by $16,000 over the next 2 years. So instead of paying $50,000, essentially we're paying $44,000.
Questions? Concern?
I have none.
No, I have concerns with Jake, but not on this one.
Okay.
The feeling's mutual, Commissioner. Feeling's mutual.
You know, this change of supervisory position is interesting. More to be talked about later.
You know how you can say you forget, but you don't forget.
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
This is true. Works both ways. So I won't be here tomorrow if there's questions. We have a settlement conference on our youth and.
There isn't there?
So that's all I'll be all day.
I try to give an opportunity. You have anything else to update us on real fast or anything? Is everything just?
We only have one youth in detention right now, and we're going to a settlement conference tomorrow. We're trying to work this out, that one to trial. So that's happening tomorrow in Klamath Falls, because it can't be our circuit court judge, and Judge Isaacson will be handling that. Otherwise, I think things.
Summer's going pretty good so far.
For staff, summer has been busy for us. The juvenile department, we've probably gained 9, 10 new cases just in about the last 2 months. Big vandalism down at the school, a lot of vandalism down at the school. I got the 4 kids involved with that, so we'll be working with them in the next couple of weeks, getting them roped in and addressing their needs. Otherwise, things seem to be happening.
Toothbrush and a can of cleaner, and they get to clean all the halls and everything.
If I had my way, it'd be different, but
I do have something real quick, Jake. Really appreciate, all your work and everything everyone in your department does. But I want to especially thank Mary O'Sullivan. last week, she went out and with one of her students, and they cleaned all the cars in our parking lot and all the county vehicles, and they really looked good and did a really great job. So want to just thank Mary for that and just make sure that we gave a little bit of public
Thank you for
notice
that.
for
Yeah,
her. So.
we've been able to use Buddy, trying to use Buddy once a week for juvenile community service workers, but we have some kids that are nearing expiration of their term of supervision, so we're trying to push in community service work through. So
Yeah.
there's that project. I also help junior, or not junior, but Dave Berman and his crew, doing some community service work on the courthouse. And try and find things for the kids to do.
It's awesome.
As of late, they've been up in the woods building fences. Which contract we have. So we've done a lot of work out there. Tearing out old fence, building new fence. And now that fair's upon us next week, we're gonna spend most of next week, I believe all next week down, helping get stuff. Ready to go down there.
Thank you very much.
Awesome.
So.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jake.
All right, Daniel Tagg. This is alert since.
Yes, you do.
You had the company here, they did a presentation. So, take it away, sir.
Well, right quick, one of the reasons I have Daniel come back is because James missed the presentation from
Yeah.
Alert Sense, plus we have some more information that we gained from it, so.
That's awesome.
Okay, that's all I need to say.
Yeah, we did a ride along and you kind of updated me a little bit on it, but
Yes.
really good to kind of do this again.
So basically, I know we talked about cost, and I did reach out to the hospital. They're willing to cover 1/3 of the yearly subscription every year. As they talk about, they go up. When we do some contracts, I'd like to see us try to get like a 3 or 5 year contract with them. Otherwise, it may go up every year a little bit, so. The hospital agreed to 1/3 that cost, whatever it is, which is a pretty good deal for us. The one thing I want to hit on is iPods. It's IPAWS, it stands for Integrated Public Alert Warning System. So that's a system that hits every cell phone out there, where you can draw a circle around your area, and when you drive into that area, regardless if they're part of the system or not, they're gonna get the alert. That's the same system that uses for the Amber Alerts and some of those other national programs, so. I just wanted to clarify on what iPods was.
You know, basically, it's a circle for,
You can draw whatever you want, it doesn't have to be a circle, you can draw a line down a road saying, we alert all these folks along this road.
okay,
And it'll, anyone within that, I mean, it's not absolutely 100% accurate, but anyone within that general region is gonna get that alert.
oh, interesting, okay.
Everyone inside that circle
Yes.
that you draw.
And how big of a circle can we draw?
Well, so the circle goes all the way out to the county.
Okay,
It's
so
in
the
one-
entire
you can
county
make-
line,
You
so.
can make it an entire county, you can make it a community, you can make it a neighborhood.
Ah,
So it's how big you wanna make it. Now, we can't go bigger than our county, because that's just where our authority goes.
Correct. I just I wanted to clarify that it goes to each, covers the entire county.
So Daniel, the iPause thing, it alerts everyone.
Yes.
But
And that's just,
you could also get on an app where you're alerted even if you're not in that, correct?
yes, so the iPods is just one component of the system, there's a whole bunch more to it. And we also do the mass notification from the county where we choose who we want to alert, who we don't want to alert. So,
Via just text message.
text message, email, or phone call, you get to choose whichever venue you want to choose, you can do all of them, or I don't want to alert the entire community, I just want to give them this heads up that we're going to be doing some road work on this county road. So you say, I just want to send a text out. Or maybe I do want to do phone call, email, text. So it allows you, I mean, it's really customizable that way, how do you want to send that specific alert out? And that doesn't even include the internal notification part, which would be a lot like our county email where we do all employees. You use this system to do the same thing, but then it not only does an email, but it can send a text to all the employees.
So, we have Steve sitting in the audience. What does the prison use?
So we have, I don't remember the name of it, so if we have some kind of incident out there, it automatically dials in the phone numbers we have programmed, but I was gonna ask you about it, Daniel, because it might, I don't know, seems like we were talking to the state police about a program that they're looking into for the whole Department of Corrections, and I can't remember the name of it.
I
But-
think you guys use AlertSense out of Idaho,
Okay.
or you guys used to anyways a year or two ago.
Yeah,
It'd be nice if we were all in the same system.
well, that's where I was going, obviously.
And we could help pay.
The efficiency for all of us.
Yeah.
All the way through, Steve. And, where you're able to pick and choose who you're gonna send it out to. It might be that it's complimentary to you guys also. I know you go through a lot of state
Right.
hoops that you have to, and all that stuff. Make sure that but it's something to think about. All the years sitting on the PAC, I haven't got as many test notices as I used to get.
Yeah.
And so.
I don't know if we've even done that since I've been there, Brad.
Yeah, it's just, as this stuff comes forward, it makes us all think about what we have and what we haven't done or whatever, so.
Yeah. So who
If
would
we
be,
were to go with this, it might be an opportunity to come in as a player.
so can I get some information? Would it be from Daniel or just about what you guys are looking at doing? And, because I'll take it with me. I'm leaving today. I can talk to my boss about it and see what we're doing. We'll have all the superintendents together. If it's something we could tag along, it seems like it'd be a great opportunity to join forces.
So Dan, kind of give all of us a rundown on how this works as far as OEM wise, like if there's an emergency, a fire, whatever, what is the process?
So generally, your mass notification system sits with the county emergency manager, who's the primary person around. And it's just like declaring an emergency, you probably use that same succession of who activated. So if the county emergency manager gone, who's the next person? Who's the person after that? You probably want to line with 4 or 5 people. Now, one thing is with it, is there is a FEMA class you have to take online for the IPOS component of it. So people that are able to activate the system have to get this FEMA cert online, and it'll take a couple hours to get, but really no big deal. But it goes through those people to do the mass notification, trigger the IPOS system. Now, for the internal notification, we'll have different administrators for each component. The prison part of it, the prison would have a person delegated to control the prison part of it. Someone would be over here for the hospital part of it, the school district part. And they can designate who they want for administrators. They probably have 2 or 3 types in. Same thing if the main one's gone, number 2 can do it. But that just works for the internal system from them below. They can't come up and activate the public alert system. So
Only the OEM person can do that.
only the folks that have the iPods, whoever we as the county designate that line of succession for triggering that system to do that. So these people control their systems internally down below, but they can't come up above unless they're part of that county structure.
So, really, this whole system, I really like the presentation that was given to us and everything. Our fair board director latched onto it in a non-emergency way, using this notification. We use an example, we got the fair coming up, is that I don't know why she's talking, basically, I don't know if it's whether that parking is allowed here or whatever. I'm trying to reach for some kind of example, but she latched onto it. So is this system allowed to be used for the non-emergency, more of a directional type of thing to go out to people?
Yeah, so they're gonna sign up, when they sign into the county mass notification system, if they sign up as a user, they can say what kind of alerts you want. And they can get those alerts. So say we have a car crossways parked at the fairgrounds, and we wanna use our mass notification system and alert them, but we don't want to use the iPod side of it. Then those that are signed up in that system, we could draw a square around the fairgrounds and say, hey, whoever owns vehicle, this description, this license plate, please move it. And then everyone that signed up will get that alert, then I'll be like, hey, Sally, I think that's your car.
Well, exactly.
So, or if you have a missing kid at the fairgrounds, or a missing kid, you may use the iPod system, I don't know. But you draw that square at the fairgrounds and say, hey, this is what's going on.
And so I really like that it's multiple use type things. So who will be the person? Will it be you that says, yes, that department head can get the training and sign up for it?
Yes, and part of that will be using a lot of the folks in our emergency preparedness committee that are affiliated with the hospital, the prison, the fire department, those would probably be a lot of the administrative folks initially to get that program going.
And so I guess to go this side of it, why would somebody not be allowed to get on there and be a administrator or whatever you call it? Is there anybody that we wouldn't let as far as county employees, department heads / elected officials?
I wouldn't think so. I would think every one of those would be on there to control their department.
Well, that's the structure of being able to do that. That's whenever there ends up being a rub later, Daniel, so I'm just trying to talk.
Because we have to, at the emergency management level, we need those administrators to build their department, because that's gathering that data on how to notify those employees when we have that big incident. When we have that fire at Drew's Gap, we built that system on who's living out there from the county employee side, the school district side, the prison side, the church club, you know, all that data is there already.
Yeah.
And it also pulls data from the phone book, so basically it's gonna download the phone book into that system. The 911 system, every phone number in that system is downloaded into the system.
So I myself really like it. I like it being all-inclusive with whatever the guidelines are for somebody to be, I'm just gonna call it administrator, secondary administrator, whatever, their department. The only thing that I need is make sure legal counsel's reviewed it and went through our process. You know,
And I did have him look at it, and he said it was fine, and that, bring that email.
so is it a contract we sign?
Yes.
And do we have that for tomorrow?
You can call them and ask them for it. My question to you guys is, do you wanna try to go for 3 years, or you wanna go 5 years?
Can
I
we
go-
look at,
Go ahead, please.
sorry, can we look at both contracts, just like, see the prices? I don't know, I feel like sometimes with like IT contracts, it might be more money up front to do a 5-year contract, but you save money over those years if you allocate
You
it.
know, I gotta ask them if it's any different.
Well,
Yeah.
I guess, you know, I don't know what their competition is and all that.
So,
If we were going to consider going into a 5-year contract, I would want to know what the opt-out is if it turns out to not be good. That's what I always look at, Daniel, is that side of it, because everything sounds really good with their presentation, but we've seen one presentation and one example.
when we look at some of our competitors, there's lots of mass notification systems out there. There's only a couple of main ones that have been in doing it for a little while and are at their level. And the big competitors probably Everbridge.
They sure seem to be the one by looking at how their area that they cover, Washington, Oregon, and Idaho, I believe, if I remember right.
And then they have the Spanish.
So that's the thing for them, that's how they're a sole source, is they're the only mass notification on the IPA side that does it both English and Spanish.
Yeah, and I misspoke. Our percentage of Spanish is, Hispanics is much less than what I guessed. So I don't know if we triggered that part of it, that sole source.
It's still nice to have, though.
It's very good to have,
Yeah.
but I think that's what triggered the sole source was, I thought we were close to 20%, we're down like 6%, I think, is what our census said. So I don't know that it triggers it, if that's what triggered it.
Well, no, they're just adding that out there, they do the Spanish, and that'll probably be a requirement later on for a mass notification system, I would imagine.
We'll have a better number when Melanie gets done with the census this year.
Yeah. Well, I like the idea of the fact that you can get it for a longer period of time where that price isn't going to go up and fluctuate a whole lot. You at least can budget for it easier, but you will know the first year whether or not the program's what we
Yeah, maybe we
actually
could start
want.
with a 3 year, and then maybe we're 5 year after the 3 year.
We could.
And again, we'll look at the opt-out desires.
So,
Correct, thank you.
if you could, have them fax you the contract and then get it to Jim Bailey to look at also. And then that way by tomorrow we can.
And so, not the $1 million question, but the $4,700 question, where you get the money and how you're paying for it. Which department's going to go through, which budget's going to pay.
Which department is going to have primary control over this? Is this going through the sheriff's department, OEM?
Yeah, I mean, it should be with the emergency manager.
Right,
So, and there might be money down the road to where OEM's gonna reimburse the county, to say, what's your yearly fee for your mass notification system? $4,700, they're gonna, okay, we're gonna reimburse you $4,700.
So bringing on the partner of the hospital, so we want to make sure the contract, I don't know if that's a separate IGA with them or what it is, but that obviously reduces it by 1/3 if the state was interested or if it fit their process.
If they could come up with a third, that would be awesome.
And I believe I heard the school talk like they've considered something different than what they
Well, when
have.
we originally mentioned it to Mr. Cahill, they were very much interested in it, but not much, and they didn't have the ESD system, but they said they didn't have the money for it.
You know, those are, four of the big players. The town should also be a player, but right now, that might be something they come in as a financial player after they get a new town manager and get things smoothed out over there. Right now, I don't know that it.
And also Steve back here, you know, I mean, you just stated in a public meeting, we have you on record that you'd like to, you know, chip in, so, you know.
I think he said he talked to his supervisor.
I don't recall saying it quite
Can you
like
get,
that.
can you get back to us, you know, before tomorrow maybe? You know?
Yeah, my recollection's a little different than yours.
Well, and, you know, I don't know what alert since, what the guidelines would be. I guess if we go into contract with them, it's whoever we bring in is fine. Whether we charge them or not is between us and that agency.
Yeah, all the Wilsons cares about is their $4,700. And the one thing I can tell you, between them and Everbridge, so Everbridge was well over 10 grand. And it was depending on the number of people in your system. And adding the schools is what jacked the price way up for Everbridge. But Alert says, we don't care how many people. It's based off the census and it's.
So
That's really
for
nice.
tomorrow, if we were going to act on this tomorrow, need to contract a pretty, not an absolute, but the players that would consider it, and make sure that it's went through the process. If it can be sole sourced, and legal counsel will tell us that. I just see it as a great tool, and most of us go right to the emergency side of it, but it can be just a tool for so many other things. And
Well, the stuff I see with it, like, I mean, it'd be nice if possible, roll this thing out first part of October with the great shakeout outside with the earthquake stuff. So when somebody says, Lake County, what do you do for emergency preparedness? Well, here we are, we're working at it, here's our first mass notification system.
Correct.
So here's a test.
And that's actually, yeah,
And
that's
here's
a
how you
big part
sign
of
up. I mean, it would be really nice to have it at my fair, but I don't think we're gonna.
and the one other component naturally is where are we going to pay for it from? And it fits absolutely OEM. Most that's all grant funded. So it might not be anything in that budget. I know Mark, he's going to work on it right away. He's sort of taking the lead on this.
It's awesome.
And so that I'm excited about it. I really am. I just have to, for process, make sure that we follow all the right process and all that. But I think this would be great for Lake County. I mean, you got James, the rangeland people. I can't remember what it is.
The RFP.
Yeah, you know, what a tool for them as a volunteer bunch, you know, just on and on.
We're just trying to figure out how to get dispatched properly at this point though, so, you know.
Well, you're going through some growing pains probably, but it's all.
But we're working through it, it's working out pretty well.
So this could be a great tool all the way through.
And what I see is that when we have a major earthquake, a fire,
Flood.
any act of God type thing that we know is eventually gonna happen, we don't really have something in place right now to notify everyone.
No, we don't, we've used the system several times in the last 2 years, just on the wildfire side alone. We would use it on the flooding side.
Well, I would think last year, the high water that we had, it'd been nice to be able to send out, please, we have plenty of volunteers, please don't go get in the way type thing, because you guys both know that there was.
I mean, the majority of the way people were able to communicate was via Facebook, and that was, that got really convoluted very quick.
And this is one way, I mean, we'll tie into Twitter and Facebook,
Correct.
and it'll clarify some of those rumors, if you will, or at least it'll put the correct information out.
Yeah, right, it'd be
And
great.
I haven't got to talk to the roadmaster about this, but this will benefit him a lot if he's doing, you know, road work and projects and stuff on that.
And I'm not a techie person, but I did ask Melanie to check with Brad Brown, our IT side. I don't know if this will impact any of that. Obviously, you will be going through some of the IT stuff, have notifications, whatever. Did you find out anything, Mel, or anything? Is there any,
Fine.
everything?
It's all cloud-based, and so it doesn't really affect our IT.
Well, and whenever they've done the presentation, if we have a problem, they're 24/7. You can get a hold of them 24/7.
If we have no internet, no phone, if we can find a satellite phone and make a call to them, just send us a word out, we can do it, so.
Yeah.
Or landline.
Yep, landline.
Yeah.
And the iPod system, I mean, that's what triggers your radio and your TV stuff, those little reader lines on the bottom. They're talking about emergency stuff, so because the beep, 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 beep,
Yeah.
that's coming from iPods, so.
So, get the information to us. We could act as soon as tomorrow.
I'll do that.
Awesome.
Thank you for the work on it.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
And thank you, Mr. Brown.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
I'm gonna ask Daniel a couple questions.
Yep.
See you guys. See you
All right.
guys.
See ya.
Melanie Buzzini, IES Communications Update.
Yeah, as you guys know, I've had a couple of issues just since July with hard drives on our security server. I replaced 9 in about 2 months.
So, just on your blue page, it's EIS, then on the thing, it's IES. Which one is it?
It's IES.
IES.
IES, okay.
So,
Anyways, please disregard that. So I was hoping, I've been working with Josh as like a quick patch because when they first got the security server and the badge door reader and the software, it was $120,000. And when they started to fail, I panicked because I didn't budget for a new server. I didn't budget for new software. So we're gonna try to like put a little patch on it to keep it contained and reduce our liability. And that was gonna be about $10,000. And then Josh dug a little deeper and he contacted the company that we bought the software for, and they'll do new licenses for us and provide us a new server. They'll have everything set up on it. We just hook our cord into it and it's ready to go and replace the old one. And that's going to be $23,571.29. And that includes shipping too. So that's great. I'd love to pay that much money instead of just a 2 to 3 year fix of $10,000. And then fix it for another 7 to 10 years. And make sure it's reliable because security is a big deal around here. And we can't kind of wing it if we can get away with it. And then an issue with this is we'll have to have new software for the doors eventually because it's not compatible with the new server. It's operating on Windows 10. But those boards are fine right now. So we can still use the server and software for our doors and then budget for that expense maybe next year. And it should be minimal. And we can still use that server, but we'll have to get new software for it. So, I mean, it's a small setback, but it'll be great. We'll have the full retention of video. Right now, we only have 28 days of video that we're able to retain because we've added our cameras after the fact, and it was only built for like 70 cameras or something. So that's good. It'll be great. We'll have more length. It'll be about 45 days storage. I can add a camera on the building over there and it won't affect storage. This is up to 91 cameras to have adequate storage to meet. So I'm very happy with Josh. I'm very excited that this isn't going to be really expensive, and
And so, tell us where all you're getting the money.
so I have some money that I can kind of shift around my projects that aren't as important as this. This is my first project on my list of importance. You know, like if something happens in the jail and we don't have footage, we're liable, even if we were doing the right things. Like this footage, it's unrepeatable.
It's high priority.
Oh, it's my top priority. So if I budgeted for $28,000 for computers, we might not buy computers this year. We might just go with what we have and then get back on the rotation next year if I have to. And then I have some other projects. The server project that you guys approved at the last meeting was $5,000 under. Dave Berman has some facilities money for the cameras. Paul has money for the cameras. I don't see the money being a problem. I'm just thankful that it's affordable now and I don't have to go into contingency.
So, my thoughts are this is very high priority for liability reasons. And so you can have, I would hate to see you take all your project and that's not replace any computers. And that sets us back a few years if you have a plan to be able to stay up. So this is one, I don't think we would have to go there, but this is what contingency set aside for is unexpected emergency type things. So I know you're gonna go with these other pots of money, but don't let a program that's set up, in Brad's opinion, your computer upgrades set back, because that's the next budget year, us setting as a budget committee just has to put in extra money to play catch up. So maybe you can cut back the number of computers, but still get a few of them. And if you have to ask us to go to contingency, then so be it.
I appreciate
It's not,
that.
it's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
What I'm saying.
I think we can absorb it internally with some maneuvering of funds. We probably will buy every single computer on the list. They're in great condition. There's some prime computers that we will replace that are very important to the functionality of our operation. But
I know you're very efficient and you look at all of it. I just
And we
put my
have-
spill out there.
we have a couple of spares in stock, so we might not have a spare. If something goes down, we'll have to order one, and
I know you look at if it's a want or if it's a need and you'll make a good decision.
this is a need.
I'm
This
talking
is-
computers. This is an absolute need.
Yeah.
Other questions, Melanie?
No, actually, that answered my question. Just wondering exactly where the dollars were coming from and if it was coming out of the budget that you already had budgeted. And you make a great point regarding the contingency funds and why they're actually there.
So, you're up again, Bid Defender.
Yeah, so as you guys know, or may not know, we constantly get phishing and scamming and kind of malware sent to us, and a lot of entities, maybe we'll say they're not the nicest people, are trying to get information and sell it. We have so much information stored in our server that it's a huge liability not to protect it as adequately as we can. Right now, they just have the basic, comes with the computer, server, malware protection. This would take the virus, freeze it, alert ACTEC that it's there, and then they can extract it without it affecting other computers and the server. So I'm excited because I've gotten a couple of emails this year that are suspicious. I'm not the only one. They've tried to pose as employees here and tried to fish for information, and
Well, who was that one that we got?
It's from Mary Dinn, right?
From Red Rock.
you know, and they're smart about it. They know we have a meeting coming up and they sent it to us. Someone asked business services for their retirement information, but she was smart enough to realize that the email was a little bit off. But you know, it's gonna happen. We're gonna get something eventually. They're getting very smart, and I think we should just protect ourselves the best we can. I didn't account for this cost, but it's something I don't think we can go much longer without.
Well, I tell you, everything that I'm told is these hackers, scammers, or whatever you want
Yeah.
to call them, they work 24/7 trying to find a way, and they're smart, and they do it. And we have to put all the assurances, insurances to protect the information. I mean, if you think about the information that is on confidential information, of employee information, from bank accounts to debit to whatever,
Yeah.
we have to do due diligence to
Mhm.
try to combat these scammers and everything. The Mary Dinn one, I mean, it looks so legitimate and everything. I tried to open it, I didn't have a Microsoft account.
Mhm.
I know 2 people did open it, and then after we find out, Mary sends back, she had been hacked or whatever. It's like, oh my God.
Well, I messaged her and I said, Mary, this link's broken, can you send me a PDF? And she replied, try again, immediately. I mean,
So it went to the scammer, you thought it was going to Mary.
yeah.
The scammer was going under Mary's name,
Mhm.
and so they was trying to get, I mean, they're so organized, they're so good at this.
Yeah, thank goodness it wouldn't open.
Right, I don't know
Because
what
I
would
tried to
happen.
open it, but it wouldn't
Yeah.
open. If it would've opened,
Well, I wouldn't do a password to do the Microsoft thing, you guys probably would. It was looked very, very legitimate.
Yeah.
It wasn't and like, it was all said at the time that we're working on this Red Rock thing. And so anyways, I digress, but, yes, is this advice from our IT people also is to do this?
Yeah, I let him know what had happened with the situation, and he had just been to a conference, and this is supposed to be the best and greatest product on the market. It'll protect all of our computers. I spoke to the sheriff's department and asked if it would be okay if we put the software on all of their computers, if there would be an infringement on them. He said, no, please do. We want to be protected also. So I think it'll be good, and it'll be an easy install. Josh will have to go around to every computer and download it, but he can do that remotely from his office, so.
So, I see the install cost and the yearly cost. And thank you so much for checking with the departments. We ran into this problem one time before, I'll just say the State Department got on some sites. Well, those computers in the DA's office, because the DA is technically a state employee, they're good with it. Those are our computers in there that even the DA runs, so.
I'll reach out to them and let them know what's been going on, and it won't track any information. It just, if it suspects anything from an untrusted source, it just kind of puts a little wall around it, and then
Yep,
I'll reach out to them now too.
yep, that's the only other one I can think of that maybe is a little bit unique.
And I'll talk to juvenile.
Yes, good point, they are on this state mainframe or whatever it's called. So, other questions? No? What do we have next? Juvenile vehicle purchase. Jake is left, but Melanie, you're the fleet manager.
Yep, I sent out 3 quotes, bids, RFQs, and I received 3 back. I'm recommending going with Hall Motor Company. They were a few $100s more than Robertson and Vin, but they provide me great service. They're very
Provide what?
great service. They're very dependable. And when we bought from a vendor in Klamath, people were very passionate about it and said they'd rather have us spend a couple $100s extra here locally to support our economy. This is up for your guys' discretion. I'm fine with whatever vendor you choose. I'm just thinking that the service I've received from Halls in the past, and then the concerns from citizens. Since if it was a big amount in difference, I would definitely be like, yeah, we're advocating for this lowest bidder. But since they're so close, I'm recommending Hall Motor Company.
Okay, so, and I appreciate everything you said. Our process is to get the quotes, and whenever we go with one hire, we have to say the reason why we justify that. Just because of they're nice people doesn't justify it, so we have to have justification, so when the auditors look at this,
Right.
we justify it, so they're, it's either that we're not taking them someplace, or this or that.
Well, that's
We have
Yeah.
to have legitimate justified reasons for auditing purposes.
Also, I forgot something to add. I need a vehicle that the juvenile has to go to the landfill. I have a great need. I would rather not wait longer than required to have it delivered down here. So I'm hoping we'll get the vehicle faster this way too.
Is there, I hate to belabor this, I just, I don't want to ding in any
No,
audits
yeah,
or
no, I
anything, but
appreciate this.
is there a difference in times of delivery? I haven't read these.
I don't have a difference in time of delivery,
So,
but I feel like they'll both, in my mind, and I know this isn't factual, but in my mind, I feel like I'll call today or tomorrow, I guess tomorrow, when you guys make your final decision, and I'll say, hey, we want to order this, let's get it ordered. And then they'll call the manufacturer that day. So I feel like the time that it gets to either dealership should be the same. But then I don't have to wait for it to be delivered from Bend. It'll just be here in Little Lake County.
Was there a particular reason for the rhino spray in the pit?
Jake prefers it, just to, it keeps him from getting dinged up, it keeps the body in good condition, it keeps it in good condition for resale. They haul a lot of stuff in them, in their equipment. So it's nice, but if you guys don't want that in there, we can take it out for sure.
Is the delivery fee included in the quote for each one of these?
It is on your cover page, I included it.
Okay. Yes. Okay.
After, the landfill gets the used one,
Mm-hmm.
we were previously gonna send that to the airport.
Yeah,
And so if things work out where the landfill gets their own vehicle, I would just wanna move that one
yeah,
out to the airport if we can, when they're done.
yeah, thank you, I would appreciate that too.
So Melanie and I just talked, we need to have our vehicle committee meeting to be able to discuss what we project the cascade effect would be to bring to the Board of Commissioners, so you know what the vehicle committee supports of how that getting out there. And yes, this is a change because of, as we took over the operations landfill, it become some immediate needs that's putting a lot of our fleet, it's working all right with our fleet, but efficiency-wise, it's not working as well. So, but anyways, yes, we do need to look at the cascade effect of bringing the vehicles out and everything.
I realize there's a huge need out at the landfill, and so, but once we get that rolling again, I'd like to remember that we can move that to.
Oh, the airport is one of our
They were
priorities.
supposed to get it.
Yeah. For me on this, I just want legal counsel to say, and for the right verbiage for us to be able to go with that.
Okay.
They're very, very close, there might be verbiage that the legal counsel says, but as we continue to go out and get quotes, and we're getting them from, we only have one option here.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to, if we vary from giving the board to the lowest quotes, either they're going to question it to a higher place,
Yeah,
or else they're gonna say, it doesn't matter if we put in a quote, we're putting in 3 hours getting these quotes together, and they're gonna award it locally anyway, so I'm not gonna give you quotes. So there's a reason why the law says we can do quotes and go out. There's also reasons why we can vary from things. But if we just say, well, they're local, they deserve it,
Right.
that's gonna give some really red flags as we try to go out and get quotes for
Yeah.
many different things.
And I support going with Robertson as well. They were the lowest quote. I'm leaving the ultimate decision up to you guys on how you want to spend the funds.
We very rarely vary from your recommendation.
The one from Halls does not include the front bucket seat and center console. It says it's not available with the vinyl interior.
Well,
But the other one, which the inter-base price from this, never mind about that, I was trying to figure that out, maybe that's correct. But the other one does include the front bucket seat, center console. But it doesn't include like electric door, cruise control, free capabilities, but then it says it's added equipment group, 101A. What exactly is that, under the added equipment group? Just for my own information.
you're talking about Robertson?
I'm talking, yeah, I went over to the Robertson Ford. Because on Halls, it's,
So they have different spec sheets. So like they start with the basic spec sheet, like no electric doors or anything. It's just a standard old-fashioned crank window. So that would be going up to the next level of spec sheet.
okay.
And then they have like the total costs over here on the next page of 3, with our required specs. So that isn't included in the price. And I did miss that Halls can't do a bucket seat. I overlooked that.
Well, they said it's not available with the vinyl interior. But
So
is
they either have vinyl or bucket.
basically, yeah.
Well,
So-
I just feel like it's more professional to have people not sitting right next to the child in this case, or an inmate or something. It's good to have a little division, and then they can use that console for their gear and personal belongings and secure them.
Well, on the spec sheet, it should be bid whatever the spec sheet, if the spec sheet requested a console, then that's what the spec sheet had.
Yeah.
And then the quote should be comparable, it should be that, and if they can't fulfill that spec, then they don't qualify.
Copy, so it just makes my decision a lot easier. I would,
Just, yeah.
yeah, I would like to go with the lowest bid in this case, and because it's really important to have seats that we can clean.
So,
Well,
why don't,
well,
go ahead, I'm sorry.
no, yeah, I was just trying to go through it to try and find, see if there was anything that we were missing that could get us out of that conundrum.
I appreciate that very much, because this is one of the rare times I went over a big fine tooth comb.
Yeah, and it's very close, and I was trying to understand the added 101A as well, and trying to understand exactly what that was. So in this, but you're right, I mean, in this case, if the bucket seats are a big deal, and you make an excellent point, being more professional, and having that little bit of separation between people being transported and such, those bucket seats actually could be a big deal.
They are with the law
Yeah.
enforcement and corrections.
So- Go ahead, sorry.
Sorry, no, and I appreciate you finding that, because it was a tough decision for me.
So there, on this Robertson Ford, it doesn't add up.
Which
When you add the base price and the options together, it doesn't come out to $3856.92.
when you
So
add.
this is the base price suggested from the state pool pricing agreement.
Okay, so that's the
It's-
state, yeah.
Yeah, this
state
is
pool,
from the state, this is the minimum
State rate.
they can charge us. So they might not have used that price, I can clarify that with them though too.
But that's the one that you put on there, basically,
Yeah.
provided them, because it's the same on all the quotes.
Mhm.
And it's the exact, down to the cents.
Mhm.
So
And
that's
these
just a
guys
state
do
rate.
a lot of fleet for Oregon. So,
Uh-huh.
And they say the $200 is an additional cost, but is that additional $200 in their final cost?
no, it's not, so I added that, they didn't put that on their final cost, but I did put it on the final cost for your guys' comparison on the spreadsheet,
Oh, okay.
or the cover sheet.
So so you're saying the $200 delivery
Mhm.
isn't in the 30,856?
Nope.
And so that would,
Are you
Actually,
sure on that?
Mhm.
that would actually make that one more money.
Yeah, and so on the cover sheet, I included that as $31,056.92.
Okay. So Robertson is still cheaper.
They're still
Because
cheaper even with the delivery cost.
even with the $200 delivery cost, because that is, even if it wasn't included in this, I mean, it's in there, it just wasn't put into their final quote.
31,000 what? Or 30,000. So $30,056. What is the final cost?
$31,056.92. With delivery and
I guess
taxes.
I'm confused on,
So on Robertson, on the third page of page 4, total vehicle cost with all required options is $30,856.
And I didn't include the Renault spray bed liner in the final cost.
You did or didn't?
I did not, because no one had that included in their cost. This would be an extra cost that would be, that the department would pay for.
Oh, well, they're not the same.
I know, but,
Paul's is more expensive. The Rhino job for
Mhm.
Robertson is cheaper.
yeah, but I
Paul's
didn't
is
include
good.
that in the purchase price because it's
That
big
wasn't part
enough.
of the spec.
That wasn't part of the specs, that was
No,
something.
this is
Okay,
just
But the
a,
department's doing.
yeah,
That's a department one, okay.
But Robertson is cheaper on the Rhino job.
yeah.
Not a whole lot,
So
I
if-
mean, it's just,
If he wanted to go with
Thanks.
them, he could.
so what is the actual cost for Robertson Ford? I'm confused.
What I will be paying is $31,056.92.
$31,056.
Mhm.
And then what will be the actual cost of All Motor Company?
31.
31,405,
So we have a difference of about $350.
yeah.
But that 31,000, did that include the $200 delivery fee?
Mhm.
All right, now it's square in my mind.
Yep.
That clarifies the dollar amount, getting back to, and the spec sheet that requested for that console. And I really appreciate, because I laughed on that whenever you explained that, Melanie, especially in that type of a setting, the separation, and Mark probably can speak more than any of us to that. In my mind, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, you don't want that.
You don't want the opportunity for that. It just eliminates that as ever being a potential liability.
Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense to me. Okay,
And we don't even want to talk about Lithia because they were only going to give us cloth seats, so.
Well,
we don't have to go there.
And they've been good to us in all fairness. They've always been good to us too.
Oh,
but-
I know. They've been good.
well, and I think, I'm so proud of where we've come with vehicles for the county and everything. I think anything, Melanie, just for your benefit as a fleet manager, is make sure when you work with the department heads or whoever's in charge of those departments, whether it's elected official or department head or whatever, is that their spec sheet is very clear. Because of that, we're as a board going to sort of get hung up on that. You as the fleet manager, make sure that they get their spec sheets good.
Especially the sheriff's office and P&P.
Yeah.
I mean, the other guys, it's not as critical,
Mhm.
but those
Yeah,
are liability
they're-
things.
They're quite specific and specific needs.
There's a reason for that.
Yeah, there's a reason, that's good.
Yeah, and I had Jake and Jim review it before I sent it out.
Okay, very good. All right, next is Sand City Lodge OLLC. Sand City Lodge.
It's a liquor license.
So Melanie, you had the sheriff look, there was no issues with this.
It's a Christmas Valley Lodge, it has new ownership. The reason why they're getting a new OLCC permit is because the lady is taking the permit for the Christmas Valley Lodge under that name and maybe starting a new,
Well, if there's a change of ownership, they have to have one under their name.
yeah, but,
Yeah.
so they
no
changed the
LLC.
name of this too, because it's not going to be the Christmas Valley Lodge, I guess.
Yeah.
Is this
It's a different
time
LLC.
sensitive or is tomorrow okay? for you?
Tomorrow's great.
All right. Good for Christmas Valley.
Mhm.
Yeah.
OHA Second Amendment Public Health Fees. And I believe that our director over there said she was going to get training. Melanie, she gave you, or
Yeah.
maybe it's James, gave a little overview, one or the other.
I read through it. It's from the OHA has new fees for this year, and Judy has to accommodate them within her fee schedule. So she has provided a new fee schedule for the fees that are provided at the health clinic, and then fees that their inspector has for charging businesses and stuff. So Judy doesn't have any control of the increase. They've been superimposed by OHA. So we now have to accept them.
And I guess with our local fee ordinance, and that 18-month thing is we able to, the
So,
state's telling us this is what it.
and these,
OHA is dictating what they,
and then if you check on her fees, it is ordinance 52, but it's 52.235.
Mhm.
So it's not just ordinance 52 general fees. So it's, I believe that it's fine to change these.
Yeah, as long as,
I asked about this actually in Portland yesterday because OHA was present. And I spoke to them a little bit about fee changes because this is determined by OHA to be what they consider fair and appropriate. But I asked the question, what happens if you have a county that their fees are actually lower than what you provided? I mean, don't you think lower would be even more fair? I mean, what's, you know, at least to the individual that's receiving the treatment, and they said, well, we don't make the rules, and I didn't get a very satisfactory answer. But basically, we kind of have to go along with this, and you make an excellent point, Brad.
okay. Well, the thing, I don't know, previously, we've always tried to keep most of our fees down the best we could. I know
Correct.
we've been beat up on building fees and everything to
Mhm.
make Lake County attractive for growth because we're frontier rural. And when fees get up there so high, some of these businesses finally say, I don't need an extra $400 fee. I'm
Right.
had enough.
Well, and then I think part of the reasoning is that they've had budget decreases to OHA and how much money is going to public health. And in there, they told Judy, you have to increase this fee by 15% and this fee by 10%. And just to keep,
Well, we're mandated because the state's not doing the inspection anymore, so we're mandated to have to do it. And then the state gets a percentage of the fee, and we have a hard time finding the correct sanitary. Is that the right verbiage?
I don't-
You guys are looking at me like, I'm not gonna go there. Anyways, whatever it's called, the
Health inspector?
health inspector.
Yeah.
what-
Yeah.
So
yeah,
like
I think it's her title.
wasn't there a show about health inspectors? I digress again, guys, sorry. Anyways,
Yeah.
we're mandated.
Yes.
Yeah.
Frustrating at times.
And I think, but if we want to change this, if the board actually, and this is something for discussion, If the board feels like this is something that is unfair and we need to address this further, we can take this to the state and
Well-
talk to OHA more further about this, and, because we're not the only county that's complained about this.
Well, the thing of it is, we get caught in the middle because of, we're mandated to provide this service through public health.
Correct.
And then even at these fees were so large, it's not paying for it.
But it's, yeah,
We're right in the middle.
they create an unfunded mandate and then they force us
Or an
to
unfunded
increase the
mandate.
Yeah, create an increase in our fees so that they can get their percentage and cut. But it, our population is who suffers.
Yeah. Moving on, right-of-way easement agreement, Newsome. And
So this is for the Cruise Solar Project. It's 1.15 miles down Cruise Road. It's similar to the Fort Rock Solar right-of-way easement that you guys approved, maybe just before these guys came on. It hasn't been very long though since we did that one. It's a 5-foot easement that ensures that we don't dig up their transmission line, or if it's above ground, we don't do anything to.
And so, jurisdiction of the roads, the road official, the roadmaster has to be in, I mean, we can't say that they can't go down our easements, it's a right, it's a written right and everything. But, we do need the roadmaster to be in, acknowledgement and support.
He didn't see any problem with this.
Okay, and so, it's been reviewed by legal counsel and everything. Okay. So that'll be on for tomorrow also. Department updates, we've already beaten Mel up enough today, maybe, I don't know. Unless you have anything else to add, Mel.
I have some good news.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
That's the first time he never even hesitated, man, there wasn't no armor.
There's nothing.
I mean, I've told you guys all these
Bring it.
bad things that are going on, but, so, Kevin Chambers from ODOT came down and Lake County was, selected to be a prototype for rural IT, software development in Oregon, and so we worked on that last week and we made some good progress, and I think it's something that we can roll out to all the other transportation providers in rural Oregon. So we'll be in works on that. And then another good share is that AOC asked me to host the administrators on Friday during the conference, and I'm pretty honored and flattered.
Well, as you should be, and Lake County should be honored to be.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
So that's my good share. It's not all bad.
No.
Well, none of it's bad, it's just work that we have to do.
Yeah.
Bit of an update for me, I think I've told everybody individually, but, the parking lot project is going forward. Some of the things are on order. Hopefully the decorative fence will be here this Friday, there's a potential. Went to the museum board, they made a motion in second, full support of the project over there. So I'm really excited, Melanie working on the fleet management side to try to get this parking lot here and get the designated parking over there. I'm sure each one of you guys individually get hit from the public and from businesses, no parking, especially on Mondays. Hopefully we can start setting an example and open up some parking. That way, the museum did talk about, they're fine with the maintenance guys with the trailer there because on their driveway, because their curator's parking on the other side. But we're gonna keep a few maintenance things right there because that's where the shop is, to try to get that open for public and employee parking, encourage employees to park in there, and then that opens up street parking also. So excited about that part of it, and I and Melanie, we just sort of took off with this, and this one was just sort of in my wheelhouse, so I've been bird dogging this one a little bit, and really appreciate the support on this. The fair next weekend, next week, you'll see me gone most every day, start there. 100th year celebration of the roundup. Going to be busy all the way around, I mean. So, apparently we all have t-shirts coming. I haven't paid for mine yet. Does anybody have, who do we pay?
I think I'll be in this week for pickup, and then they're hoping either this afternoon or tomorrow afternoon you can help with the bunting that's gonna start going up on the streets.
Yeah.
Just to put you on the spot, sorry.
Yeah.
But it'll be great, it's gonna,
All three of us are pretty good supervisors.
Yeah. yeah.
Put a little higher over there.
But I noticed, I went to dinner last night at the Nest, and the Chamber has some in their window, and then Holloway's has some up in their window already. It's gonna be great, we're gonna have a lot of spirit, and I'm excited that Judy was able to raise the money.
It's gonna be a huge week,
Yeah.
so, yeah.
So one of the things I wanted to ask you guys about is, you know, the solar project or any other projects that we have and the road damages that are being done. If I could kind of start working on something with Jim Bailey, like developing a bond or some sort where any big project that comes in that we see that might cause substantial damage to our county roads, that they would have to pay a bond or something of that sort to do the work. What do you guys think about that?
I think all three of us have had some kind of discussion or thoughts all the way down this. I appreciate where you're going. It depends on the project. You know, you take Red Rock, there's a community service fee, there's a lot of negotiation on that, and there's Cavernous Road impact on it, and we worked through all of that, and they were very much at the table all the time. The solar projects is where we're seeing the impact, and I really believe that under conditional use, that's where I believe our roadmaster and our planner are going to make sure they have that conversation now. It's a learning process for all of us as there's bigger development coming in and the impacts. For me, I've been hit very hard on this over the years. First thing a lot of them tell you is we're legal in weight, we're legal in size. Why are we getting charged, or why would you even consider charging us whenever you don't charge any other vehicle that's legal, licensed, registered to go on your county roads? And so I think really the trigger is the conditional use side of it is this is unusual short-term impact on our roads, and need to have the discussion with our roadmaster, and if can't come to any kind of agreement, come to the Board of Commissioners to have that discussion. But we're seeing the effects of positive development, positive jobs and everything, but impact on our roads. I mean, the solar on our own property out here at the airport, we're seeing some damage out there on the paved roads.
Absolutely.
And when Ruby come through, they weren't running correct weights and that, and
Well,
I just, you know, that's just a.
With Ruby, we negotiated that up front. We videotaped our roads, and they wrote us a check for about $400,000, another almost $400,000 worth of material that I was key in that negotiation with our road official. And so we do have that example on that. They were oversized roads, and I think the missing key part of this is we need something where they need to talk with our roadmaster.
I think our roadmaster is more than happy to discuss these things, and Brian Worley at AOC and Kevin Hawk and I, we've been discussing this, and I think you guys were included in an email that was sent. And this was something that Brian Worley had mentioned earlier because we were discussing how we can implement a fee. And I'll just kind of read you something really quick. When Kevin was addressing the question of bonding, which is in something that you brought up, so a contractor or motor character is responsible for the road damage. Brian didn't think that there are any counties using a mechanism like that currently, at least in the state of Oregon. The city of Portland does, however, have its own local heavy vehicle tax that it levies within the town, within the city of Portland. Brian suggested that we consider an SDC, which is a system development charge for these solar farm developments. And he sent me a link, it's a 400-page document. I have not read it yet. So,
What is it? An S?
System.
SDC is a
development
system development charge. But this is still something that we can work out. We as a board may have to decide on this at some point if we intend to go this route of having a system development charge. But also the CUP application process is where we can start negotiating what type of road maintenance will be expected as they develop and put this extensive use on the roads, because it is basically these roads are going to be rough and it's going to be difficult to keep them up to date with the increased traffic. It's just we haven't,
Especially our gravel roads.
correct, but right now they told us, and I was on a conference call, and I'll just update you guys on this. The one of the solar companies in Fort Rock called our roadmaster last week, and they offered to buy gravel and supply us with the gravel to gravel some of our roads in Fort Rock. 2 hours later, when I was on a conference call with Kevin and the solar company, they backed out and they said, well, let's just start small. If you guys could grade it, we'll talk about buying gravel later. So basically we went up there, well, Kevin went up there yesterday with Casey Lehman and Delbert, and they graded Pitcher and Connolly Road. And so they feel like they're back to, you know, running full speed again. They can water their roads and they don't, you know, it's easier on their trucks and everything else, but there's extensive damage to the road that can't be just fixed by grading. It's all the dirt and everything else has been brought up. Typically we grade up there around the 4th of July, and we don't get back up there until just before the Labor Day. But we also typically don't have this extent of damage to the road. So it's harder to repair it and bring it back to an actual good standard.
Well, and the roads, some of these roads are built substandard anyways. They basically have no base, they have powder.
Correct. And so we have pictures and everything of, when you put your foot down in there. I was up there just before I went up on the trip to Portland over the weekend. I went up there and put my foot down in a few spots, and it's just powder, and someone could get hurt up on that road. They did offer to buy gravel, and then they backed out, and so it's kind of being put on us and to try and we'll fix it, and that's what it comes down to, is that we will fix those roads and maintain them, because that's our job. But it does hit us rather hard at the road department, especially when the benefit comes in from these solar projects. They come in the form of property tax dollars. They can't always be levied towards these roads.
So I still go back to exactly where you did it. If the discussion happens during the CUP, when I'm talking to solar specific,
When we actually have a chip that we can play.
that's whenever it can be a condition of the conditional use permit. And usually a developer is very anxious to be a good player and will look at that because they want that CUP to be approved.
Correct.
And so I really think on these solar sites or similar to that type of development out here in the county part, I think that's a really good place to shore it up.
Yeah.
And I sent out a month ago an email, I didn't follow up near as much, and we're all getting hit with this, and so, we do have the ones that's after the fact that we're gonna have to deal with. Hopefully, this company will consider putting some gravel where.
I think they are, and I think that we're slowly working through that
So
with them,
do,
and they
do we need to
understand.
make it a county ordinance between us to do this on the CUP?
Well,
Like a requirement?
you know, if you do SDCs, then it's a requirement. You know, are we there that we need to do that? The solar is just about peaked out as far as capacity on the lines. We do still have some that probably don't go through the CUP process. I'm not against putting it in there, but I don't know what the next development is, and if we have substantial charges, will that deter other development or whatever, or is it better to negotiate at the time of the CUP than
But
the
I
charges?
mean, I think we need to negotiate this in any future.
Yeah.
Don't you, I mean.
And not just for the gravel roads, well, I mean, what damage is damage, but one of the things they told us over the phone, and I have it in my notes, was that they had actually decided, because of the damage to the roads on Pitcher and Conley that they had caused, they were going to divert the traffic of their trucks to other county roads that were paved.
Mhm.
And paved roads are harder to fix and a lot more expensive.
Yep.
So we weren't necessarily any happier about
Exactly.
that diversion, but
Yeah, because I mean, we've seen what's already happened just on that little short stretch out here by the airport.
correct.
And so, and
The heavy trucks make an impact.
so I think we need to at least have that in our mind when,
Well, and this, nothing about the charges or anything, but it really wouldn't hurt if the weighmaster was to have jump scales and weigh some of the trucks as they're going across there in that state. But I mean, as far as their haul of rock, I hear, they're gonna push the limits on the weight.
oh, heck yeah.
And so they might not all be legal loads, or they might not have their spare axles down at times whenever they're on our roads, if they are put that way, so. Out here in the sticks, people push the limits of whatever way they can.
Yeah. And this is
I drove
also,
truck here.
yeah. This is also something I want to address, and I'm sharing it with you. This is a photo of a county road up in Fort Rock area.
Oh, yeah.
And just bringing it to you guys' attention during the updates. I know you love to see this, and I have further video that this was taken.
Too bad that wasn't a dirt road where it was back in the ground.
Well, yeah, this is.
Well, we have a dirt road up there on Fort Rock that it washed the rock plumb off of it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, water on the road, there's a law against it.
Yeah, we have our ordinances that talk about this, and this is an actual local farmer that's doing this extensive damage
We
to the road.
generally put out a notice every year in the paper. It's the enforcement side that we can't.
It's hard to, yeah.
It's not hard to find it, it's just not high priority on that department to get tickets for watering the roads.
Mhm.
But anyways,
I wanted to share that with you because that was something.
you guys
it's
will
gonna take
have
somebody
many
driving
meetings that you
through-
get hit about.
Well, this was, this
Well,
was
what's
sent
gonna
to.
happen is somebody's gonna fly through their hydroplane and wreck.
Well, deteriorates the road, you got the liability part of it there, but, yeah, I really appreciate your looking into that, and, yeah, you might be able to get a few.
We have
Few people in
approached,
compliance.
we've approached ranchers and we've talked to them, I have personally. Kevin and I were up there several weeks back when we were, well, several months back when we were doing that project in Shumway's Pit. And we were driving up the Christmas Valley Road or the Fort Rock Road towards Fort Rock. And it was on the pavement, and we suddenly saw this big black streak in the middle of the road about this wide, and going all the way up for a couple miles. And we followed it, and it was, well, we stepped out, we smelt it, it was diesel. And so we followed it up the road into a local rancher's farm, and we approached them, and we said, you know, that diesel on the road is really not a good thing. It eats away at our pavement really fast. The farmers don't want that either. I mean, it's a loss of fuel, and what it was just a hand that was careless and left a cap off the back and started driving off and drove out the driveway of the ranch building and went down and drove into one of the fields. And
It's easy to track.
oh yeah, well, when I brought it to the rancher's attention, I mean, he jumped in his rig out there and he went out looking for that guy because it's pretty easy to follow too. You know, I mean, that's a huge monetary loss to that rancher. But it's really hard on our roads. And we wanna, you know, by going up to him, approaching him, and saying, you know, just letting them know, building that rapport and start working with the ranchers and just talking to them about this is kind of where I'm going at this point.
So where, there's a hydraulic spill out in my neighborhood out there, I'm not gonna mention who it was or what it was. What's the protocol? Let's say you're taking your tractor, your swather, and you blow a hydraulic line. You're trying to, you stop because of things, you got a big puddle there, and then you're trying to get it off the road. What is the duty of that person at that time? What do we have in place? And I know Rick used to chase his, the trails are easy to follow. What do you do when you find the people? Do they go close it down? What's the obligation on
I would say
them? Because that hydraulic oil is just almost as bad as
Yeah.
the diesel.
Correct.
It just deteriorates if you're gonna have a pothole there in the next 1 to 3 years. So, but, it happens all the time, but I don't wanna see a farmer have to do a full cleanup, hazmat cleanup at the same time, so.
Sure, absolutely.
So as you're working on it, just take that into consideration.
You know, there was no fine given for spilling, you know, diesel fuel on the road. It was an accident, it wasn't intentional. There's really not so much you can do as far as cleanup.
Well, I think,
Just keep
James,
talking
what we
about it.
used to
Careful.
do was, I think, that the road department itself, when they became aware of this, they'd run out there either with kitty litter or whatever, and sometimes water and soap, and wash that spot. Just because of preservation, I'm not saying that's absolutely, but that's what we might have done, but, you know, truly, 99% of the true accidents are
Yeah.
something like that, but, I know the previous roadmaster, he bird dogged that terribly hard because of,
It is very hard.
they just don't wanna see none of us wanna see the pavement deteriorate.
No. So, anyway, just thought I'd share that with you.
Yeah.
But going back to just the discussion as far as, you know, where we go with the CUP negotiation, I think that's an excellent direction forward. If we need to go with an SDC, we can approach that later on, I think at some point, because what I'm hearing from Brian is that may be a little bit more of a process. But if we can accomplish this through the CUP application and actually get something forward, and I thought we can get a consensus from the board today that that's actually something that we want to see happen, then we can move forward with that.
Well, you've definitely got a consensus from me, that's what I've been trying to foster the
Yeah,
whole time.
absolutely.
Darwin and Kevin need to, if Darwin sees that this is gonna, it's pretty easy to see that these developments are, get that email to Kevin, he gets them anyways, and then Kevin, you know, Darwin needs to say, this one's important.
You know, that there's gonna be an impact.
Yeah, and we'll know the routes pretty fast, we know which roads are going to use, and
Well, and that's the other thing right there, a very good point, James, is with your roadmaster being involved, they can say, we want to use these routes. Because this road, you know, some of these up there, those are definitely substandard roads, and the Apple was pulled up and put some gravel on top of them back in the 70s or whatever, but, you know, the roadmaster might say, you know, it's gonna be an impact. I want you to use this road, even though it's an extra 3 miles.
And we want them to coordinate with our roadmaster regardless,
Absolutely.
because if we have work or projects up in there, next year we're going to be doing road projects up in the Christmas Valley, Fort Rock area, it's in the plan, so we wanna make sure that we have all that as well.
Well, the roadmaster might support in the solar company or whatever development company might support dust abatement as far as dust oil, or not, and they may put that on, you know, that they can have those discussions and options as being experts in that field. Yeah, yes,
Okay.
I don't mind.
Okay. Excellent.
So you're gonna roll with it then?
Yeah, but I may need your support and stuff now and then,
Whatever
maybe
you need from me.
if team or something on a few things if we need to. And, work with Darwin, I mean, your liaison to to the planning,
That
but,
doesn't mean nothing to me, just go talk to them.
yep, no, we will, but, just wanna make sure that we're all kinda, you know,
That's what makes it
this
work.
is what we're wanting to do, so.
Yep, yeah.
And we'll follow up with another discussion in a couple weeks and kind of see where we're going with it.
Sounds good.
Excellent.
All
That'll
right.
make our constituents happy that we're making moves.
We need to make definite progress
So
on
we
this.
can tell them now that this is what we're doing and
Yep.
Mhm.
so.
Yep.
All right. Anything else? We will adjourn at 15 minutes to 11.
Excellent.
Is the examiner, you shutting off or turning on, anything over there for the examiner?
No, we're just gonna let that run.
Stand by.
We should do some break stuff, but then it could be used against the.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even touch it.
He asked me to.
No.
Is it off?
I don't know, Mark or Brad or